Yeah.
Texas still is not back, but they're slowly getting there. Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, the best kept secret in all of college football. Today bringing you our 2020 Texas Longhorns college football predictions. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. And also make sure to check out everything down in the description below, where you can visit our new website, thegridironexpert.com, and also follow us on our social media pages over on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So at the conclusion of the 2018 season, after that Sugar Bowl victory over Georgia, everybody, or at least a lot, of people thought Texas was back. That they were back to being national title contenders, to perennially challenging Oklahoma for the Big 12. And then Tom Herman and the Longhorns followed that up with a 7-5 regular season in 2019. Yes, 3 of their 5 losses came to eventual top 10 teams in LSU, the reigning national champions, Oklahoma, who fell to LSU in the college football playoff, and Baylor, who fell to Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship and was just 1 win away from making the college football playoff. But still, it was a very disappointing season for Tom Herman in Austin, and it sets him up for a very big year in 2020, a year where he cannot afford another letdown. When you look at Texas's roster, the offense looks very solid. And of course, in Sam we trust, Sam Ehlinger is back for his final year as quarterback for the Longhorns. He threw for over 3,600 yards last year to go along with 32 touchdowns, and then rushed for over 650 yards with an additional 7 touchdowns. So 39 total touchdowns for Sam Ehlinger, over 4,200 total yards for Sam Ehlinger. He is the leader of this team. He is the leader of this offense, and Texas cannot succeed without him, at least in 2020. He does lose his top 2 wide receivers, though, in Devin Duvernay and Colin Johnson, but does return Brennan Eagles, who had 6 reception touchdowns last year, and Keaontay Ingram at running back, who rushed for over 800 yards on the ground. And after such a disappointing season, Tom Herman said, we have got to make some changes. He now brings in Mike Yurcich, the former offensive coordinator at Oklahoma State from 2013 to 2018, where his teams went 5-1 against the Longhorns. So he comes in to try to rejuvenate this Texas offense and make them towards one of the best, not just in the Big 12, but in the country, because they certainly have the talent to reach those marks. Defensively, Herman made another change. He got rid of Todd Orlando, now brings in Chris Ash, the former Rutgers head coach, now in as defensive coordinator. And he's going to switch Texas' scheme up a little bit. He's switching them from a 3-4 to a 4-3. So that's more of a basic type of defense here. A lot of people use that 4-3 offense, a little bit more so than that 3-4. So Ash is switching the defense, a defense that ranked 97th in the country last year and 127th in the pass. So that's going to be huge, guys. You've got 4 guys up front now trying to pressure that quarterback a little bit more. 4 guys up front on that defensive line instead of 3. Texas nearly allowing over 300 passing yards per game in 2019. They returned their leading tackler and their sack leader in Joseph Osai. And then in the secondary, you've got Deshaun Jameson, who was their interception leader last year. And then you've also got B.J. Foster, Caden Stearns, and Chris Brown. So I look at this Texas defense, guys, one that does return 9 starters on that side of the ball. One that does have a great defensive mind in Chris Ash. He wasn't cut out for a head coach, but he could be cut out as a defensive coordinator. And I think you're going to see Texas improve drastically on that side of the ball. But will it be enough to contend for a Big 12 title? We'll take a look at their schedule here, guys. And once again, we are predicting every single game, regardless of if games are canceled or not. And as of right now, of this filming, the Big 10 and the Pac-12 are the only conferences to have shut down non-conference games. And as you can see, Texas has not faced any team out of the Big 10 or Pac-12. So we're predicting all 12 here. They kick off the season against South Florida, and we're going to give them a win over the Bulls. Certainly no pushover here, South Florida now led by Jeff Scott, who was the former offensive coordinator or co-offensive coordinator at Clemson. This is a very solid South Florida team. I think a team that's going to be dangerous offensively. They ranked 15th in the country in their passing defense, but they were 114th in the country in their rushing defense. So maybe Sam Ehlinger with some new wide receivers struggles in this game against the Bulls, but expect Keaontay Ingram to run all over them. They start off 1-0. We give them the win over UTEP, but right in between there, you've got that big non-conference game on the road at LSU. The reigning national champions. Texas lost to them only 45-38 last year in Austin. And a major reason for that was, of course, yes, Joe Burrow and LSU's dynamic offense, one of the best in college football history, but also because Texas was unable to take advantage of their early opportunities. And in a game like this in Baton Rouge, in Death Valley, Texas has to take care of their early opportunities if they are given to them. If LSU screws up early, if Texas benefits from some mistakes, they've got to take advantage of those, get some points out of them, touchdowns preferably, if they want to have any chance of beating LSU down in Death Valley. But the thing that people don't understand is that, yes, LSU does lose so much. They lose Burrow. They lose Joe Brady. They lose Dave Aranda, who's now at Baylor. They lose Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They lose Justin Jefferson. They lose about half their defense. But they have a lot of people that were waiting in the wings, and they still have a lot of talent of people that didn't even leave last year. Miles Brennan should be just fine at quarterback. Steve Ensminger is still there as offensive coordinator. Jamar Chase, the Biletnikoff winner, over CeeDee Lamb, I should add, is back. Terrence Marshall is back. This LSU team takes a step back, but nothing too drastic. The game is on the road, and Texas's defense is still going to be going through some growing pains and some changes. I don't know if they have what it takes to go steal a game in Baton Rouge. I don't think they have what it takes to get revenge over the Tigers and to steal one on their home turf. Texas falls in Death Valley. They're 2-1 going into their bye week at Kansas State. And I will say, guys, this first little part of the schedule, these first 6 games, are pretty difficult for Texas. Namely, LSU, Kansas State, and Oklahoma. So about half of those, but still. It's a rough 3 games in that 6-game stretch here. And coming off the bye week, we actually have them falling to the Wildcats in Manhattan. I believe Texas does slip up and fall to Kansas State. This is the Wildcats team, guys, that last year, when they fell in Austin, they were 6-2 and a top 20 team. And it took Dicker the kicker to once again bail out Texas and win that game at home 27-24. Should also be noted that the past 4 meetings between Kansas State and Texas have been decided by 6 points or less. And while Texas has won 3 straight over the Wildcats, all good streaks must come to an end. And they've just been narrowly defeating the Wildcats, guys. So all good streaks must come to an end. Kansas State is due a win. And I think at home, with a team that won 8 games last year, led by a dual-threat quarterback in Skylar Thompson and 7 returning starters on defense with a defensive-minded coach in Chris Kleiman, to me, all of that adds up for a Kansas State victory here. A game that I think is kind of similar to Texas's letdown against TCU last year when they fell to the Horned Frogs 37-27. Texas will more than likely be favored in this game, but it's the Wildcats that pull off the upset. They're 2-2 going into their biggest game of the season. The Red River Showdown. The Red River Shootout. It's Oklahoma, Texas, baby. It's Oklahoma, Texas in Dallas at the old Cotton Bowl. And we know that the history between Oklahoma and Texas is a bitter one. It's a historic one. It's a great one. 2 years ago, Dicker the kicker bailed Texas out by beating the Sooners 48-45. And last year, Texas could have beaten Oklahoma if they had just learned to focus on their fundamentals. If Texas had learned to tackle, namely CeeDee Lamb, Texas could have won that game because they only lost 34-27. You look at Oklahoma this year, new quarterback. They're not benefiting from a veteran. No Baker Mayfield, no Kyler Murray, no Jalen Hurts type QB. It's now Spencer Rattler. He's got some uncertainty within his wide receiver core. But Alex Grinch, I thought, did a fantastic job as defensive coordinator last year up until that LSU game. It was a top 40 defense in the country. And Oklahoma returns 9 starters on the defensive side of the ball. We know the offense is going to be potent under Lincoln Riley. Spencer Rattler is the real deal. And by October 10th, I think he builds up enough chemistry with his receivers. And in a close game, one that's decided by 7 points or less, a touchdown or less. Oklahoma gets another win over Texas for the second year in a row. And guys, Texas is 2-3. And I know all you Longhorn faithful out there will think I'm crazy. You'll think I'm ridiculous. You'll think I don't know what I'm doing. And once again, you've got a road game at the reigning national champs. You've got a road game in Manhattan against a very solid Kansas State team who you probably should have lost to at least once over the past 3 seasons. And then, of course, Oklahoma, the best team in the Big 12. It's just a tough stretch. You're 2-3, but you bounce back with a win over West Virginia. It's at home in Austin, and this is where Tom Herman puts his foot on the gas and lights a fire under his Longhorns team. We are 2-3. We disappointed big time last year. We're not going to disappoint again this year. Some might already view the season as a disappointment. You've lost your 2 biggest games to LSU and Oklahoma. Forget it. But the season's not over yet. New Year's Six bowl game is still in sight because the schedule, to me, lightens up over the back half. They beat West Virginia. They beat them 42-31 on the road last year. Their defense was not that great, but it stepped up down the stretch when they needed them the most. West Virginia is still going to have questions on that side of the ball. I don't think their offense has enough capability to come in here and put up 31 points again against this Texas squad. Texas wins. They win on the road against Texas Tech. Texas Tech's key this year, guys, is not only their defense. That certainly got to improve drastically, but it's their health. Because we know last year they got lucky. Alan Bowman goes down with an injury. You hated to see that. No one wants to see that. But they had Jet Duffy as backup. He put out fantastic numbers in Matt Wells' offense. Well, Duffy's gone. And they don't really have that many people capable to put up Duffy-type numbers behind Alan Bowman. He's the best quarterback on the roster. He's going to be the starter. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12. But if he goes down with an injury, and with his injury history, it is likely and is possible, Texas Tech's going to struggle. Texas goes in here, shuts down Texas Tech's offense just enough, wins the game in Lubbock. They've now won 2 straight. They take on Baylor at home, win. You look at this Baylor team, guys. We know they've got Dave Aranda coming in as a new head coach. First-time head coach. Was defensive coordinator at LSU, one of the greatest defensive minds in college football. He's got a lot to work with offensively. Veteran quarterback in Charlie Brewer, a very capable offense, very capable running back trio. Offense is not what worries me. It's the defense, ironically. They only returned 2 starters. But I like that Texas gets this game at home. If it was at Waco, in Waco, I might lean towards the Baylor way. They beat Texas 24-10 last year, after all. But there's too much change going on in the Baylor football program right now. And while they're still a bowl team, they just don't have enough to come on the road to Austin and steal a win. So now Texas has won 3 straight games. And let's make it 4-5 with wins against Kansas and TCU. We know Kansas is a team that likes to give Texas some trouble. Last year, they almost came into Austin and won. They were up 48-47 late in the 4th, like a minute left in the 4th. And once again, Dicker the kicker, who needs to have something on Texas's campus named after him for the amount of times that he has bailed Texas out. He bailed them out again, winning the game 50-48 over Les Miles and the Jayhawks. And we saw Kansas take a major step forward offensively last year. About midway through the season, Brent Dearman was given that offensive coordinator position, and the offense took off. Drastically improved. But Carter Stanley, a major reason for that improvement offensively, is gone at quarterback. And the 2 quarterbacks battling it out for the job have just 1 combined pass attempt between them in 2019. So Kansas, they'll get there under Les Miles. They've got a long ways to go. I like Pooka Williams a lot, but if Texas shuts him down, they should win and win comfortably in Lawrence, guys. They should take care of business, although Kansas, like we said, has liked to give Texas a lot of difficulty in recent years. The win over TCU, a little bit of revenge for Texas. They lost 37-27 against the Horned Frogs, and Sam Ehlinger was just a turnover machine in that game. It was a poor offensive performance. It was a poor defensive performance. TCU went just 5-7 last year. But keep in mind that TCU did lose 6 games by 1 possession. So the talent was there. The talent was there for TCU to have a very special season. They just couldn't capitalize and couldn't win in those close games. Now a lot of those players are a year older. Gary Patterson landed the 5-star running back in Zach Evans. They landed Marcel Brooks on the defensive side of the ball from a top 30 unit last year. And this TCU team should improve at least a little bit, at least enough to go bowling. But still, it is at home for Texas here. I praise TCU so much. I love Gary Patterson, but I just don't know. Again, to me, the defense is going to be the biggest issue in my opinion. I like Max Duggan a lot at quarterback. I think he's going to give Texas issues with his dual threat capabilities, but is their defense going to be enough to shut down this Texas offense? Now I'm saying no. So just like that, guys, they're 2-3, and they've now rattled off 5 straight victories. Let's make it 6. Let's make it 6 with a win against Iowa State, another team that Texas lost to last year, 23-21. Texas had 3 losses last year by 1 possession. So they were 7-5. Remember, they win all those. They're 10-2. We're not unable to win those close games. So like the TCU game, a bit of a revenge for Texas here after a heartbreaking loss last year to the Cyclones. The game is at home. It is senior night for Texas. Their New Year's Six bowl hopes are not over. They are riding a lot of momentum here. 5 straight victories. And as much as I love this Iowa State team, I just don't know if they have what it takes to come into Austin and snag a win. I love the quarterback battle between Sam Ehlinger and Brock Purdy, but I just don't know if the Iowa State defense, which yes, again, 9 returning starters is very deep and very talented, but are they going to have enough to shut down Sam Ehlinger and a wide receiver core that will have improved this far into the season? And once again, Keaontay Ingram, I'm telling you, he's the X factor on this Texas offense. Do not sleep on him. I got the Longhorns winning a close one, decided by a touchdown or less in Austin. They've won 6 straight games, guys, 2-3. Now they're 8-3. How about that? The upsetting and disappointing start, it's an afterthought now. But unfortunately, Texas's 6-game winning streak will come to an end in the season finale. They will fall to Oklahoma State in Stillwater. I look at this Oklahoma State team, guys. They almost came into Austin and won last year. 36-30 is what Texas defeated them by. That was the score. I look at Oklahoma State this year, the amount of offensive talent they have coming back. You've got Spencer Sanders at quarterback, dual threat quarterback who missed the final 2 games. When he's healthy, he's dangerous. Chuba Hubbard, one of the best running backs in the country. You've got Tyler Wallace, one of the best wide receivers in the Big 12, and Oklahoma State returns their entire defense. Senior night for the Cowboys. All of those guys back. If they stay healthy, the Cowboys are in for a very special season and will be contending for a Big 12 title berth. I think Texas drops that game on the road, and they finish the season at 8-4. Of course, this is barring no non-conference cancellations, which as of right now of this filming, there are none. So while 8-4, to the naked eye, it looks like a major disappointment. Keep in mind, that's a 1-game improvement, guys. Texas went 7-5 last year. 8-4 would be a step in the right direction. It would be improvement. Last year when they went 7-5, they made the Alamo Bowl. They annihilated Utah. That's a solid bowl game. They'd be in for another solid bowl destination here. Tom Herman thrives in the postseason. If they win that, that's a 9-win season in Austin. That's not a bad season at all. It's not playoff contention. It's not Big 12 title contention, but it is continuing to show that he is still the right man for the job. He's continuing to go in the right direction. And to me, a 9-4 record, a win, a solid bowl game would be a fantastic year for a fantastic quarterback in Sam Ehlinger to end his career at the school that he has grown up loving so much. So the Texas Longhorns, guys, going 8-4 in 2020. 9-3 max, but we've got them at 8-4. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below as well, where you can visit our new website, thegridironexpert.com, and also visit our social media pages over on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for exclusive content, news, and updates that you do not want to miss. And once again, as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.